After abandoning me during my time in the hospital, my wife is now asking for forgiveness, 12 years later. My name is Robert, and I'm 45 years old. I want to share a life experience here to get some advice. This story goes back 10 years, when I was married to Amanda, my first wife. We were married for 5 years and had 2 children, Jenna and Kevin, who were 5 and 3 at the time. We were living a normal life until one fateful day. One morning, as I was driving to the office, a speeding vehicle coming from the opposite direction rammed into my car. The next thing I remember was waking up in a hospital bed, covered in bandages and plaster. The nurse told me I had just woken up after being in a coma for 2 days. I held my doctor's hand and thanked him for saving my life. I was thankful to be alive, but I had no idea about the disaster that was waiting for me. A week into my treatment, the doctor told me that my lower body was paralyzed and that I might never walk again. I was devastated. Amanda broke down when she heard the news. It was hard for her because she now had to manage the house and take care of the children by herself. I fell into deep depression, unable to accept the reality of being in a wheelchair. Every day I stared at the empty walls of my hospital room, cursing how my life had turned upside down. I feared that I would never be able to play soccer with my kids again, never dance with my wife, and never be free like before. To make things worse, Amanda stopped visiting me as often. In the beginning, she brought the kids to see me 3 times a week. Those moments with my family were the only thing that kept me going. But as time went on, her visits became less frequent. I begged her to bring the children more often, but she would say they didn't want to see me so much. I felt utterly hopeless. Then one day, Amanda handed me divorce papers. She told me she couldn't live with a handicapped man, saying, "I'm still young and desirable. I deserve a normal man." I won't lie. I saw the signs coming when she began to distance herself from me, but I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. About a month after the accident, some friends told me they had seen Amanda out with another man, probably someone in his 50s. They were seen holding hands at cafes and malls, mostly in the evenings or on weekends. Some said she had been having an affair even before my accident, while others thought she had become desperate and ended up with an older, wealthy man. It had been barely 2 months since my accident, and I was still in the hospital when I received the divorce papers. I may sound calm while writing this now, but back then, I was anything but calm. I was devastated and heartbroken. I was confined to a wheelchair, divorced with no income and no savings, having used everything I had to pay for household expenses and the children's education. I had insurance that covered my hospital bills to some extent, but I had to liquidate my savings to cover the remaining expenses. In the end, I was left with nothing. I wanted to scream, bang my head against the wall, and curse my fate. I don't know how I managed to keep myself together back then, but something inside me kept me sane. Maybe the fire of wanting revenge. After being discharged, I moved back to my parents' house. I was 35 years old, divorced with no income, and completely dependent on my elderly mother, both physically and financially. My mother was a florist, running a small shop in the suburbs. The little income from the shop, along with her pension, kept things afloat. With those limited resources, she still offered to support me. It was incredibly painful to be a 35-year-old man relying on his 62-year-old mother. Soon after my discharge, I went to see my children. When I reached my house, it was locked. The neighbors told me that Amanda had moved in with her lover, taking the children with her. According to them, Amanda's lover was a rich, fat old man who had been divorced 3 times and had no children. Some even called Amanda a gold digger, accusing her of being with him only for his money. I managed to get the address of her boyfriend's house and went there. When I arrived, Amanda wouldn't let me see my children, saying they had already adjusted to her boyfriend and even called him Daddy. She claimed that my sudden appearance would only confuse them more. When I insisted on meeting them, she threatened me with a restraining order. I didn't have any money to hire a lawyer. I was barely surviving on my mother's small income, so I had no choice but to back off. Less than 6 months after my accident, and only a few months after our divorce, Amanda was already living with another man. I felt disgusted. I asked her how she could move on so quickly, but she dismissed me. I know it was immature, but I was a helpless, wheelchair-bound father. What else could I do? I begged her for just one chance to prove my worth, but she belittled me, calling me a burden in her life. I asked her if she had been cheating on me before the divorce, since it seemed she was already living with this man so soon after. She brushed me off, saying it was none of my business and that I should never show my face to her again. I stood there, thinking about the 7 years of marriage we had shared, wondering how she could replace me with another man in just a few months. With tears in my eyes, I left. I went back home, feeling completely defeated and humiliated. I cried like a 5-year-old in front of my mother, who comforted me and encouraged me to take control of my life again. I was lost and directionless at first, but I decided to help my mother in her flower shop. I started making bouquets, serving customers, and cleaning the shop. Soon, I realized that the business had huge potential to grow, but my mother was too fragile to handle it on her own. I reached out to my old contacts and secured contracts with event management companies to supply flowers for their events. Gradually, I built a team and started taking contracts for venue decorations. Eventually, I launched my own event management company. Took me 10 long years to rebuild my life, but I did it. Throughout this time, my mother always had my back. She supported and motivated me to bounce back. A year after my accident, I found out that Amanda was leaving the city with our children and her lover. I rushed to the house to see my kids, but by the time I arrived, they were already gone. Before that, I had tried multiple times to reach out to my children, but Amanda insulted me and chased me away every time. Amanda had full custody of the children and could make all the decisions for them. Since I was both physically and financially challenged, I couldn't contest joint custody. I also couldn't challenge her restraining order because I was too broke to hire a lawyer, while Amanda had her wealthy boyfriend, Evan. I didn't know if Evan had been with Amanda before my accident or if he appeared afterward, but I knew he was a wealthy man with a lot of inherited property. Over the last 10 years, whenever I got leads about my children, I would travel to try and meet them, but I failed each time. Amanda constantly threatened to have me arrested, and with her boyfriend's money and connections, it seemed like they could get away with anything. By the way, even after 10 years of living together, that man never married Amanda. A year ago, I finally filed for joint custody. I had been waiting for my event management business to stabilize before taking this step. I filed for custody and was granted 15 days with my children, who are flying to visit me next week. Despite Amanda's best efforts to object to my plea in court, I hired a good lawyer who presented my case well, and I won. Plus, my children are older now, and they were asked if they wanted to meet me. They said yes. I know I can't make up for the 10 lost years, but I hope to spend quality time with my kids. As the day gets closer, I'm feeling both nervous and excited. They're now 17 and 15, and I know teenagers can be difficult. I just hope they aren't too mean or resentful. I have no idea what story Amanda has been telling them for the past decade. Should I tell them the truth about their mother? I'm really unsure. Do any of you have suggestions on how I should approach them? I'm incredibly nervous, but also very excited. I missed 2 critical pieces of information in my original post. First, about my current wife, Ashley. Yes, I remarried a beautiful woman 5 years ago. Ashley is an interior designer. I met her at an event where she was designing the wedding venue, and we were providing the flowers. I had not yet started my own company at that time. It wasn't love at first sight, but we vibed well. We kept meeting at similar events over the next few months and became friends. She was a single mother of a 3-year-old daughter. The idea of starting the event management company was hers because she had worked for one of the companies for many years and had the contacts and knowledge of the business. I partnered with her to launch the business. We dated for a year before getting married. Now we live as a happy family of 4. Ashley, her daughter Anna, my mother, and me. Her daughter was delighted to get a granny, and so was my mother. The second piece of information is regarding the accident compensation. I was hit by a speeding truck, so ideally, I should have been compensated by the logistics company that owned the truck. But at that time, the company got away with paying nothing by manipulating the facts about the accident and pinning the blame on me. I couldn't afford a good lawyer back then, so I didn't get a penny. You know how big companies work. They pay hefty amounts to their attorneys to save their backs. After my marriage to Ashley, she suggested I refile the case since we could afford a better lawyer. The case is still in court, but my lawyer has given us a positive hint that the judgment would come in our favor. Alright, coming back to my story. As I mentioned in my original post 3 months ago, my children were supposed to visit me after 10 years of my divorce. I was excited and nervous, but Ashley calmed me down and supported me through it all. I went to pick them up from the airport. The elder one, Jenna, is 15 now, and the younger one, Kevin, is 13. They have grown into beautiful and handsome teenagers. After the initial greetings, we ran out of things to say, and it was awkward for all three of us. On our way to the house from the airport, I tried to break the ice and ask them about their school life and city. I deliberately avoided talking about their mother, and they didn't bring her up either. The children were unusually silent, or maybe just waiting for an opportunity to plug in their earphones, like any other teenager. Upon reaching home, we were welcomed by Ashley. The children looked shocked, as if they hadn't anticipated this. I don't know why Ashley's presence was a surprise to them. When their mother could live with another man within months of our divorce, why couldn't I remarry? Ashley had set up the guest room for the children. We had lunch together, and Ashley laid out the vacation itinerary we had planned for the family. They gave a neutral reaction to everything. They weren't excited, but they didn't dismiss the plan either. Ashley and I were confused by their mixed response. They locked themselves up in their room, and soon after, I got a call from their mother, Amanda, accusing me of tricking our children. She said I had brought the children to my house so Ashley and I could manipulate them. I felt disoriented by her behavior. She accused me of hiding the truth about my marriage. I was baffled by her accusations. I hung up on her, but she persistently called me. I decided it was time to address the elephant in the room. I called my children and asked them what was the matter. After the initial hesitation, they spoke up. They were mad at me because they were told that I had abandoned them. Amanda had brainwashed the children against me and filled their heads with lies and deceit. I revealed the exact truth to them, that it wasn't me, but their mother who jumped to another man as soon as she got the opportunity. They were kids back then, but they remembered those incidents very well. I told them how Amanda disappeared with them to the old man's house and how she had threatened and chased me away whenever I tried to contact them. I showed them the restraining letter and all the rejected pleadings I had made to meet them. They were in tears and regretted believing their mother's lies all these years. My younger son, Kevin, admitted that once he had tried to reach out to me on social media, but Amanda caught him. She emotionally blackmailed him and made him promise never to contact me again. The children also admitted to being rebuked by Amanda's husband. Amanda and the children were mistreated at family gatherings because she was unmarried. Despite the man paying for their education, he was never a father figure to them. My heart ached as I learned about my children's adversity. After all the truths came out, we hugged each other and cried our hearts out. We went for a week-long vacation in Florida and had a great time together. Jenna and Kevin bonded with Ashley and Anna, who was turning 8 this year. I couldn't be happier seeing all my family together. My children uploaded our group photos on social media, captioning them, "Happy Family." As soon as Amanda saw those photographs, she called them up and berated them for their foolish behavior. She blamed them for betraying her by bonding with us. She texted me, threatening that she would not let me meet my children further if I did anything to turn them against her. I laughed at her hollow threats and continued enjoying our vacation. After returning from the vacation, my children met with my relatives. My relatives happily hosted them, and I was delighted to see the old bonds rekindled. When they were about to leave, they promised to keep in touch despite Amanda's threats. They said they felt suffocated living in that house and would move back with me once they completed high school. I hugged them and bid them goodbye. After going back, they confronted Amanda about her deceit, but she turned the tables on me, accusing me of manipulating them against her. It's been a few months since they returned, but we talk regularly. I hope to have them back with me soon. Thanks a lot. I know it's been a long time since I updated, and there's been a lot of drama in the last 6 months. After my first meeting with my children 3 months ago, the impending court case with the logistics company got settled. Guess what? I got hefty compensation not only for the accident but also for the injustices in the first trial. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but in the initial trial, the logistics company, whose truck rammed into my car, manipulated the case and pinned the blame on me for the accident. As a result, I wasn't compensated at all. I appealed again at my wife's suggestion and won this time. I gave the news to my children, and they were equally elated. They wanted to meet me, and I promised to have them back with me permanently. A month later, Amanda showed up at my office. She held my hand and asked me for forgiveness. I was taken aback by her sudden appearance. She admitted that after my accident, she became desperate and found an old man who wanted a sugar baby. I didn't know about these terms until I Googled them that day. The man had a few horrible experiences with younger women who ran away with his money after a few months, so he decided to settle with a not-so-young sugar girl, Amanda, who was 32 at the time. Amanda had 2 children, which served as a guarantee of her loyalty. The man had clearly stated that he would not marry her and would instead keep her as his mistress because he didn't want to share his inheritance with my children. Amanda agreed to his terms because he promised to feed and fund their education. I asked her why she didn't get a job. She said she had never worked and wasn't sure if she could earn a similar lifestyle to the one her lover gave her for free. She kept saying that she did everything to protect the children's future. She stood her ground, claiming the children would have grown up in poverty if she hadn't taken that step. I got so annoyed at her nagging that I yelled, saying she could have at least given me a chance to bounce back. If she was so concerned about our children's future, she should have discussed it with me instead of jumping to conclusions and deserting me without any warning. I clarified that I had moved on and that her pleas didn't matter to me. She recounted all the happy moments we shared, like our wedding day and the birth of our 2 children. I shrugged her off, saying I was a different person now, and all those memories had faded away. They didn't mean anything to me anymore. She crossed the line by saying that she and my children were my real family, not Ashley and Anna. She claimed that Anna wasn't my daughter and that I could never have a proper family with Ashley and Anna. I was disgusted by her cruel words. She insisted that I take her back so the real family could reunite. I made it clear that I love Ashley and Anna, and they are my real family, not her. She refused to leave my office and created a scene. She finally left when I threatened to call the police. I went home and told my mother and Ashley about the incident. Ashley was naturally distressed, but she's a mature woman and didn't make a big deal out of it. My mother said she never liked Amanda because of her selfishness. Mom even suggested that Amanda had returned only because of the money I had received after the court settlement. That woman is indeed a gold digger. When my children learned about their mother's behavior, they berated her and told her to stay in her lane. I'm not sure how her sugar daddy found out about the incident, but he threatened to throw her out if she tried to reach out to me again. I couldn't be more thankful to him. The latest update is that my children are moving in with me this month. They will stay with us briefly before I enroll them in a nearby college. They wanted to enjoy their college life and stay in a hostel. I believe we should stay connected but also give each other some space to get to know one another better. The children have abandoned Amanda, and in the end, she is left with nothing but her sugar daddy. I hope you enjoy this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe my channel.
I'm male 31, own a coffee shop, which I also manage. I have a university degree but have no interest in pursuing a career in what I studied. I'm not living off my parents' money. I'm living off money from my great-great-grandfather. I bought the coffee shop because I liked working in one when I was in college, and I like providing a good place for people to work where they're not expected to put up with any crap from customers. I was dating a woman I met through friends. She works in banking and does very well for herself. She's beautiful and smart, and probably smarter than me. She knows I have a degree and that I'm the manager of a coffee shop. She said it didn't bug her, but then it did. She said she needed someone with a future and not someone squandering his education as a barista. My family never discusses money with people. It gets awkward. We also don't splash it around, but none of us need to work. Or get educated, really. My little brother used to joke about buying a villa when he got his trust fund and lying in bed while sturdy women rolled him around with kayak paddles so he didn't get bed sores. He got his teaching degree and is happy as an elementary school teacher. She broke up with me because she couldn't see a future where she was the breadwinner, and I stayed home with the kids. I said I understood and let her go without much of an argument. Then about 18 months later, I met a woman at work. She's a regular and she's perfect. She's a law student, and she started late after serving in the military. We're getting married this summer. I invited my friends, obviously, and it got back to my ex that I was getting married. She texted me to congratulate me and ask if I was registered anywhere. I told her I appreciated her congratulations, but that if she wanted to gift us anything, she could donate to an organization in our name, since we didn't need anything. She said I should swallow my pride and just accept a gift from an old friend. I told her that anything she chose to give us would be welcome, and we would be thankful. I guess she went to my friends and found the registry. She texted me again and said that my registry was ridiculous and that I was greedy for asking for such expensive stuff. I told her that my mom had done the registry and that if she wanted, she could just put money toward one of the gifts. A week later, she came by the coffee shop and had a printout of some stuff. She asked to talk to me privately, so I took a break and sat down with her. She had printed out screenshots of my registry with the most of the expensive gifts already taken. She asked me who was buying me all this stuff, and I said it was just friends and family. Then she pulled out a bio of my grandmother, whom she had met when we were visiting Florida. She asked if this was the same woman. I said, yeah, but please don't tell people about my family. She kind of lost it. She said she thought she was wasting her time with me, waiting for me to quit my job and actually get a real one. I told her that I didn't want to pay someone else to manage my shop, so I would be miserable doing something I didn't love just to get money I didn't really need. Now she's angry that I cosplay as a poor slacker to float through life. She said that she would have been happy to let me live my life the way I was, as long as she knew I could contribute as much as she was to the relationship. While we were together, I paid for everything: nights out, dinners, gifts, and even our trip to Florida. I guess she thought I was maxing myself out to impress her. I never even thought of it really. My credit cards are set for full automatic payments every month. She told our mutual friends about my family and they're conflicted. Some knew, but we were polite and didn't say anything. Some are angry because they feel guilty whenever we would go out and we would split the bill. I guess they too thought I was just flashing my barista tips to fit in with the group. Some also think that I should have told her I'm a trustafarian before letting her break up with me. Am I the idiot for tricking my ex-girlfriend into breaking up with me and moving on? Not the idiot. I can see that she wanted to be with someone who would put equality into the relationship. I think that's fair enough. But if she did think you were maxing yourself out on credit cards, why not say something? She's a gold digger who screwed up for herself. And any friends who start acting weird now that they know the truth aren't your friends either. Agree. And her contacting you just reeks of her thinking she was the best thing you would ever get, and she wanted to buy you the most expensive thing on the list to feel good about herself and then see these expensive gifts. Your instincts knew she wasn't the right person for you, and that's why you never told her about your money. I'm speechless at the fact that she's an ex, yet she felt the need to print out the registry list and berate you about it. She not only sounds like a gold digger, but the fact that she dug to find out more about your financial situation way after you split up and are engaged is pretty crazy. To be honest, you dodged a bullet. Gold digger is mad that she missed her jackpot. A true digger for gold would have done better due diligence while she was still dating the guy. She's just a clown. Oh, P, I'd love to own my own coffee shop one day. If something makes you happy and you can afford to do it, there's nothing wrong with it as a career. Start a chain. Overtake Starbucks. Let her see your logo all over the world. Show her you can be successful without her BS. Congratulations on your upcoming nuptials. I'm a 32-year-old female. I have 4 kids, young teen, 2 tweens, and an infant. Yeah, I know, don't come at me. As of 4 weeks ago, the kids' school shut down completely due to water damage and a fallen roof in the gymnasium/cafeteria. They should be returning fairly soon, I would think. Until then, virtual learning. Honestly, I'm having a rough time with the lack of decompression time. The kids are more rambunctious than usual due to the lack of stimulation and sitting at a computer screen for learning. But add a baby going through a sleep regression who sleeps all day and is up literally all night. You get one tired mama who has zero downtime. It won't last forever, and that's what I keep telling myself. But right now I just need a breather without entertaining, answering questions, or being touched. My husband is fully aware of this, but it feels it doesn't apply to him for whatever reason. So on the off chance that the baby does go to bed at a decent time when the other kids are in bed, he assumes I want to spend every second of that time with him. I understand how important it is to maintain that closeness with him, but right now I'm tapped out. So him touching me and trying to get a piece or trying to talk about our finances, which we already talk about when the kids are awake, is exhausting. Especially considering he gets downtime. After the kids go to bed, he goes to his office to do whatever for 2 to 3 hours while I try to get the baby down. She's strictly breastfed. It's just that the second she's asleep, in his head it's like, oh, kids are all asleep. It's my turn to get attention. Even if he sees that I've opened a book or put on headphones. And it's just getting increasingly frustrating because, like I said, the baby is up all night and she's at an age where she wants me to be fully engaging with her, talking, holding, playing, or she gets fussy. So everyone here is constantly begging for my attention while I'm just begging for 30 minutes of being left alone. And like I said, my husband is fully aware of this. I've told him. He thinks it does not apply to him. So last night, I got the baby to bed around 9-ish, and my husband came in and said, "Want to watch a movie?" I said no, that I wanted to read, but he could watch the movie beside me, so we were still together or whatever. But he kept making comments. "Babe, you don't even want to watch this? It's funny." Or, "Did you see that?" And then proceeds to rewind the movie so I can see, even though I said I didn't want to. And lastly, "You don't even want to give me that butt?" At this point, I was fuming mad because I hadn't made it through 2 pages uninterrupted, and I snapped. I said, "Will you just leave me alone? Why do I have to keep repeating myself to you?" He turns off the movie, storms off to the office while saying, "I just wanted to hang out with you." Now I feel bad, but I need to be left alone for once. Edit. He does his part around the house. He helps clean, helps with dinners, and is usually the one who drives the kids to and from their sports. This isn't about what he does or doesn't do to pull his weight. It's only about me not getting any downtime because he wants my undivided attention. Much like the kids, we still hang out together. We literally watch a movie together every single night. But on the nights that I don't want to do that, he sits and basically begs for my attention, even when I voice that I want to do my own thing. Not the idiot. You sound burned out, and that alone time or lack of pressure is necessary to recharge. He needs to start understanding that before this gets worse. Women have little enough time to themselves. It's not a criticism of their guy if they don't want to watch the movie for Pete's sake. It's crazy how husbands don't understand that the most irresistible thing they could do would be to step up as a parent. OP, I know you said he pulls his weight, but if one parent has 2 to 3 hours of free time a night and the other has 0, you need to redistribute equal. Tell him next week you'd like him to put the baby down as soon as you're done nursing. Hand him the baby and take time for yourself until it's time for the next feeding. If that recharges you, find a way to make it the routine at least some nights a week. Yes, but nursing doesn't always work like this. People think of breastfeeding primarily as a way to feed a baby, but it's actually primarily a relationship. OP may be the only person who can get the baby down with nursing. A better solution is for the husband to actually listen to his wife and give her space when she wants. I'm 30 years old and fairly successful thus far. My parents are a huge part of my success. They kept me motivated through school. They gave me a great childhood, and they helped me graduate debt-free. My mom's contacts helped me land a well-paying job after university. I'm a Nepo kid. Without them, who knows where I'd be? They think this gives them carte blanche to interfere in my life. They constantly critique everything about my life. I cannot think of one aspect of my life that they approve of. And I'm not a bad person or anything. It's not like they have a problem with me because I'm a drug addict or working as a sugar baby. They just think that they know better about everything. I had them over to my place for my dad's birthday, and everything was wrong. My apartment was too small. The stove didn't have precise control of the heating elements, and I scorched the sauce. I did not. It was perfect. Just everything was wrong to them. And they kept saying that they wanted better for me, and that after everything they did for me, I should be doing better. Well, I'm doing well. And because I live the way I do, I've done especially well the last 8 years. So I wrote them a big check and asked them to hold it up. I took a picture with them with the check. They asked what it was for. I said it was everything they had wasted on me since they thought I failed. So I'm refunding them. I told them I loved them and appreciated their help. But now that they were paid back, they could keep their opinions to themselves and out of my apartment. They got huffy and left. I heard from my brother that they were angry that I did that. I don't really care. I just want them to accept that I don't owe it to them to live my life how they want. Not the idiot. If your parents were supportive and loving, they would encourage you instead of criticizing you. It's great that they helped you growing up, but that's actually what parents are supposed to do. There's nothing wrong with setting boundaries or expecting to be treated with respect and kindness as an adult. Keep your boundaries, live your best life, and if parents want to be a part of it, they can learn not to be idiots around you. They want OP to be the personification of perfection because they consider OP an extension of them. They're not genuinely concerned about what's best for her because that would require them to view OP as autonomous. Many parents struggle with transitioning from a parent-child relationship to treating them like equal adults. Some parents never seem to get there. OP, your parents should want to spend their time and money and use contacts for you because they're parents, and their job as parents is to give their child a good childhood and the best start that they can provide. They did that, and good for them, but that's it. And now, for God's sake, cancel that check before they cash it. You don't owe them a thing. Going against the grain here, you are the idiot. It doesn't sound like that at 30 years old you've ever tried to address this. As you say, they were good parents. Maybe one conversation to try to get them to see what they were doing might have been in order. Who knows? Maybe they would have seen the error of their ways and worked to be better. Refusing to communicate, making a huge gesture, and cutting them off seems sudden. They were undoubtedly in the wrong here, but one attempt at an adult conversation with them was warranted. My daughter's in grammar school. For the past month, there's been a boy who's been badly bullying her. It's gotten to the point where she said she doesn't want to go to school. The school's done an okay job of dealing with it, but the boy's mom has been very uncooperative and taking her son's side. On the 2 times I've talked to her about it on the phone, she was extremely nasty, and the last time she even screamed and cursed at me. My daughter's been going to school with this boy since kindergarten. Up until very recently, I was under the impression that he didn't have a dad. Either he was out of the picture or deceased. The school roster only lists his mom's name and info. I've never seen his dad at any school events, and my daughter says she's never heard him talk about a dad. But a week ago, I found out he actually goes to his dad's house on weekends, and his dad and all his extended relatives on that side live in a small rural community about 45 minutes away. I asked a friend if they knew anything about his dad. Apparently, the parents divorced the year before he started kindergarten. This friend told me that the mom has referred to her ex as a narcissist and abusive, and that she has a restraining order against him for several years. She also told me she heard from a staff member that the mom specifically requested that the office and all her son's teachers never contact his dad. Over the weekend, I did some snooping on social media, and some of these people searched sites and found out his dad's name and contact info. Today at my school, my daughter's bully shoved her on the playground and sent her to the nurse's office. As a result, I gave his dad a call and told him about what happened that day and about the bullying that had been going on. I didn't say anything negative about his ex-wife or how she dealt with the bullying. His dad, despite what I heard, actually seemed very nice. He was very apologetic and assured me that there would be major consequences that weekend and that it wouldn't happen again. I had an excellent feeling after getting off the phone with him that action would be taken, unlike with Mom. A few hours later, I got a furious text from my daughter's bully's mom. She said that her ex made a nasty call to his son right after my call, screaming at him, cursing up a storm, calling him names, and making all sorts of threats about how horrible the coming weekend would be. She says he followed up by sending her an abusive text, calling her names, and accusing her of being a bad mom and letting their son be a bully. He told her he was going to post about her on social media to expose what a terrible mother she is. She said she knows her ex's family will start harassing her now as well. She said I had no right to contact her ex. She ended by saying, "Thank you for all the drama and pain that you've brought into our family's lives." Was I an idiot for contacting this parent? Thank you for all the drama and pain you've brought into our family's lives? You're welcome. Maybe next time you won't ignore complaints about your son. You are not the idiot. If she can't handle her son, give him to someone who will actually educate him. Oh no, he's accusing her of being a bad mom and letting their son be a bully? I mean, how's he wrong? If she had bothered doing anything about her kid being an abusive little idiot, then OP wouldn't have needed to contact the other parent. Okay, but if his dad really is abusive and a narcissist, OP just put that kid in actual danger. Narcissists have a habit of being charming to strangers and abusive to those immediately close to them. And if the mom really did have a restraining order, I'm inclined to believe there's at least some truth to these accusations. Based on the fact that the other mother was a major "see you next Tuesday," nasty and verbally abusive to OP, called her names, and didn't care that her son was viciously bullying OP's daughter, I have a feeling that she's full of crap. I don't care about her family dynamics, especially if she doesn't give a crap about stopping her kid from bullying. OP, you need to protect your daughter.
Hey there, I'm Jessica, and I'd like to share with you the complexities of my relationship with my mother-in-law. Ruby, she always seemed to make things hard for me. Ruby had old-fashioned ideas and never really liked me. For a while, my husband Michael and I lived far from them, so Ruby couldn't bother us much. But when Michael got a job close to them, we had to deal with her more. I could handle Ruby's behavior because I grew up dealing with difficult people like my own parents. Luckily, Michael's dad, Jasper, was always nice to me. But the tough part was that Ruby spent time with my daughter, Erin, who was 9 at the time. Erin loved her grandparents, and they were the only ones she knew well since I didn't have contact with my own parents. Even though Ruby and I had our issues, I put them aside for Erin's sake. I wanted Erin to have a good relationship with her grandparents. Michael also cared about family a lot, so I couldn't just cut Ruby out of our lives. Erin enjoyed spending time with her grandparents, but Ruby still caused problems sometimes. Ruby kept criticizing Erin's diet, saying I wasn't feeding her right. She thought Erin needed more nuts for protein, but Erin was allergic to nuts, and even their smell made her sick. I told Ruby this many times, but she wouldn't listen. She said Erin needed to eat nuts to get over her allergy and called me a bad mom. I knew you'd say this, Ruby. We talked to the doctor, and Erin's meals are balanced. Skipping nuts won't hurt anyone, but it could make Erin really sick, I told her. Even after explaining and listening to the doctor, Ruby didn't change her mind. She thought exposing Erin to nuts would help her allergies. I was tired of arguing with her and tired of being called a bad mom. Ruby even tried to get Erin to eat nuts, but Erin knew better and always said no. Feeling more and more worried about what Ruby might do, I decided to talk to Michael about it. I'm really concerned about leaving Erin alone with Ruby. I'm afraid she might give Erin food she's allergic to, thinking it will help her allergies, I told him. Don't worry so much, Jessica. My mom might have old-fashioned ideas, but she knows her boundaries, and Dad is always there to step in if things get out of hand. Erin loves being with her grandparents, and we can't just stop her from seeing them, Michael said, trying to reassure me. But Ruby keeps ignoring Erin's allergies. I'm genuinely scared for Erin's safety whenever she's with them without me. We need to talk about this. I can't keep worrying like this, I insisted. Relax, Jessica. There's no need to stop Erin from seeing my parents just because of this small issue. Erin loves being with them, you know. And if you're worried about Mom, I'll talk to her. She'll listen to me, Michael assured me. His words made sense. Erin really enjoyed being with her grandparents, so I couldn't bring myself to stop her if she had ever said she didn't want to see them. I would have respected her decision, but I didn't realize that even Michael couldn't change Ruby's behavior. Things came to a head at Erin's 11th birthday party. Jasper and Ruby were invited, and they said they'd come. Ruby seemed really excited, which made me uneasy, though I didn't know why. When they arrived early, it surprised me because Ruby usually avoided being around me. She gave Erin a big present wrapped in birthday paper and said, "Happy birthday, Erin. Here's your gift. Grandma got you something really special." Erin thanked Ruby, and then Ruby said, "Wow, that's a big gift. What's inside, Grandpa?" "I have no idea, Erin. Grandma chose it, and she won't even tell me what's in there." "We'll both find out when you open it," Jasper said. "Come on, open Grandma's gift and see what she got you. I bet you'll love it, sweetie." "I'll be your favorite grandma ever," Ruby said excitedly. "I can't wait to see what you got me, Grandma. I'm so excited." "We'll open all the gifts after we cut the cake," Erin suggested. "No, Erin needs to open my gift before cutting the cake. That's why I came early, to give her my special present," Ruby insisted. Despite feeling suspicious about Ruby's behavior, Erin seemed genuinely happy to get such a nice gift from her grandma. The big, heavy package made Erin even more excited, and she couldn't wait to see what was inside. She wanted to start opening her presents once all her friends were there. I agreed to let Erin open Ruby's gift before the cake, as Ruby said it had to be done that way. I didn't want to upset Erin on her birthday, so we went along with it. But little did I know what a disaster it would turn into. Luma and her parents were let down by the one person they trusted. Ruby not only ruined Erin's birthday but also turned everyone against her. When Erin opened the gift, she found a big cake with her name on it. She was happy for a moment, but then she passed out. Michael and I rushed to her, scared and confused, when we saw her throat swelling up in shock. I watched as Michael hurried to get an epinephrine shot while someone else called the police. Knowing exactly who was behind this, I confronted Ruby, demanding answers. "What on earth did you put in Erin's cake? What's in it?" I asked, my voice shaking with anger and fear. Ruby pretended she didn't know anything, saying, "I didn't do anything, Jessica. It's just a regular cake. I have no idea what's happening. Maybe something you did caused Erin to faint. You've been neglecting her nutrition despite my warnings, and now she's paying the price. Don't try to blame me. Erin was fine just a moment ago, and now she's having an allergic reaction. Tell me what you did to her, Ruby. I hope you didn't mess with the cake. You need to own up to your actions and take responsibility." "Look at Erin, she's turning blue," I snapped back, ignoring Ruby's excuses, focusing solely on Erin. I hurried over with the epinephrine I always kept on hand for emergencies. Although Erin's swelling went down a bit, she remained unconscious. It was clear that she needed to go to the hospital to fully recover. The room was filled with worry for Erin, tears welled up in my eyes, and even Michael looked close to crying. Ruby, who was already in tears, seemed scared. In that moment, I decided to cut open the cake to see what was inside. What I found shocked me to the core. I demanded answers from Ruby, questioning her sanity for putting nuts in the cake. Ruby, what were you thinking? You ignored my warnings and put nuts in the cake, putting Erin's health at risk. How could you be so careless? I only wanted to help Erin, not hurt her. I didn't like that Jessica was so strict about Erin's diet. While it's true Erin might have reactions sometimes, I thought gradually giving her nuts could help, Ruby argued. My frustration boiled over when I confronted Jessica, saying, "Are you crazy? Our daughter is allergic to nuts. She could have died from this reaction. Who gave you the right to decide how to handle her allergies? Look at the mess you've made. I'm Erin's grandma, and I have the right to take care of her. She'll be fine. You're all overreacting. You're just trying to scare me for no reason. I'm sure this is all part of Mila's plan to make me look bad. But listen, Ruby, if things go my way today, you'll be in big trouble. Right now, all I care about is Erin's health," I said firmly. Just then, the ambulance arrived with paramedics. They took care of Erin and took her to the hospital with us following closely. The doctors told us Erin would need time to wake up and would have to stay at the hospital for a day or two. We were all overwhelmed with emotion. I broke down in the hospital, finding comfort in Michael's arms. After calming down, I called Jasper to let everyone know that Erin was no longer in danger. When I hung up, I turned to Michael and expressed my anger, saying, "I'll never forgive Ruby for what she did today. She could have put our daughter's life at risk. I've been thinking about how serious this is. It's unbelievable, something I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't seen it myself. My mom has become someone I don't even recognize anymore. She did all of this just to make me look like a bad mom. She acted like she cared about Erin's happiness, but she never thought about how dangerous it was for Erin. Even after everything, she still says I planned it all. Today showed me how far my mom will go to make you look bad. I'm so sorry I didn't see it sooner and didn't do more to keep her away from us. I need to protect Erin from my mom's bad influence. I failed as a husband and as a father." Michael was starting to realize how serious the situation was, and Jasper, who had always been a good grandfather, was clearly affected by Ruby's actions. This time, she went too far. Even though she'd gotten away with things before, we weren't going to let her off easy this time. We decided then and there that we couldn't let Ruby keep hurting Erin. Her actions were a threat to Erin's safety, and we couldn't allow her to keep causing trouble in our lives. Ruby was no longer welcome in our family. We were determined to protect Erin and make sure she grew up in a safe and loving environment. It wouldn't be easy, but for Erin's sake, it was a decision we were ready to stand by. Following a heartfelt discussion, my husband and I quickly made a decision while Erin was still in the hospital. It was time to head back home. Jasper, Ruby, and a few guests stayed behind, eager for updates on Erin's condition. This gave us the perfect opportunity to address Ruby's actions. When we got home, 4 hours had passed since the incident. In the living room, we found Jasper scolding Ruby while she seemed indifferent, busy on her phone. The untouched birthday cake sat sadly beside them, a painful reminder of what had happened. Despite my sadness, I held back my emotions. When they noticed us, Jasper and Sophia hurried over. "I just got an update," I said. "Erin is in good hands, and she'll recover soon. Although she's still unconscious, the doctors are hopeful. Thank goodness, Erin will be okay." I was so worried, but it looks like everything's fine. It wasn't even a big deal. "Erin will be fine, and her nut allergy will go away soon," Ruby declared. In that moment, Michael unleashed his anger on Ruby, scolding her for everything she had done. Jasper joined in, expressing his disappointment, and the guests, visibly shocked, stared at Ruby with disapproval. I too was filled with rage. I've had it with you, Ruby, I declared. We've given you so many chances to change. Even after your actions put my daughter in the hospital, you show no remorse. This is it. You will never be allowed near Aaron or our family again. You're banned from this house. You can't tell me where to go. Your son won't cut me off for no reason. I won't let you keep me from my granddaughter just because we don't agree on how to raise her, Ruby shot back. No, Mom, Michael replied firmly. You're not welcome near me or my family ever again. Dad can come here anytime, but not you. He's the only sensible grandparent Aaron has. He's done his best to keep Aaron safe. But today, you put Aaron in the hospital and acted like it was the right thing to do. I can't let someone so heartless be around my daughter. Ruby couldn't believe her own son was turning against her. She could always trust Michael to support her, not realizing he was being rational, unlike her. Even the guests started criticizing her. Ruby felt trapped with no one on her side, not even Jasper. In desperation, she screamed at us, blaming me for setting her up. This is all your fault, Jessica. You turned everyone against me. I'll never forgive you for this. You should be begging for our forgiveness. Your actions have ruined your reputation and kept you from Aaron. I'll sue you for grandparents' rights. I'll take you to court, and the judge will let me see Aaron. Just wait and see. I don't need anyone to support me, I responded firmly. You're not going to have much luck getting grandparents' rights from jail. I'm sure the judge would find it pretty funny to have a criminal asking for visitation after putting her own granddaughter in danger. What are you talking about, Jessica? Why would I go to jail? I didn't do anything wrong. Ruby protested. Didn't do anything. I shot back. What you did is a crime, Ruby. You can be arrested for knowingly exposing a child to allergens. It's considered a form of poisoning. Maybe you didn't realize it, but Michael and I did. We've already called the police on you, and look, here they come now to arrest you. Ruby, in denial, insisted, no, you're lying. This can't be happening. You can't arrest me for this. Ruby's panicked expression showed her desperation as she begged us not to send her to jail. Tears flowed down her face, and she started to panic. Just then, 2 officers came in and told her she was under arrest. She clung to her hands, begging us not to send her to jail. Michael remained unmoved, telling the cops to take her away, while I gave Ruby a cold look, showing that her deceitful game was over. In a last attempt, she turned to Jasper for help, begging him to do something. Jasper, please. You can't let your wife get arrested like this, she pleaded. But Jasper stood firm, saying, when my wife does something truly terrible and shows no remorse, I won't protect her. I've warned you for years to change, and you never listened. Today, you put our granddaughter in danger. I was only trying to protect her, not realizing it would hurt her so badly. Please, Jasper. I'm your wife. You have to help me, Ruby pleaded desperately. But Michael stood by his decision, saying firmly, Ruby, I've already cut you out of my life. It's the right thing to do, and I plan to do the same tomorrow. I'll talk to a divorce lawyer. I want to end this as soon as possible. I won't stay with someone like you. I'll protect my granddaughter and my kids from you. Ruby was shocked and pleaded desperately, no, 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 Jasper, you can't do this to me. I'm your wife. Ignoring her, Jasper told the cops to take her away. Ruby continued crying and begging for help, bringing a tumultuous end to an event that had long concluded. A sense of peace washed over me as Michael, Jasper, and I went back to the hospital after the other guests left, clearly upset by Ruby's actions. They promised to tell everyone what she had done. The next day, Erin woke up feeling much better, but she was terrified of Ruby. Erin cried and begged us to keep her away from her grandmother, saying how Ruby had tried to make her eat things she was allergic to. To help Erin deal with her feelings, we got her a therapist. At the same time, Michael and I started going to therapy together to work on our communication as a family. Having Jasper's support was really important for all of us. With his help, we started to heal and grow stronger as a family. Ruby's life took a sharp turn for the worse after the incident. Her actions caught up with her, and she faced serious consequences. Once her own family found out what she had done, they scolded her and cut ties with her. Even her friends were disgusted by her behavior and stopped talking to her. With no one to turn to, Ruby found herself in a desperate situation, begging everyone for bail money. But she didn't get any help, and Jasper filed for divorce the next day. Ruby was served with divorce papers while still in jail. Receiving the divorce papers herself sent Ruby into a fit of rage. In the following months, Jasper was able to get a quick divorce, taking advantage of state laws with the police report as evidence. Our legal case against Ruby moved forward. Despite the expectation for Ruby to cover Erin's medical expenses, her financial struggles resulted in a lengthy prison sentence as the judge ruled against her. Moreover, we obtained restraining orders to ensure she stays away from our family. With confidence that Ruby won't have the chance to approach us again, we remain watchful. But if by some chance she tries to cross the line, she'll encounter the fierce protection of Mama and Papa Bear, who are determined to do whatever it takes to keep Erin safe.
"Why won't you talk to me?" I asked. "I've decided not to interact with people I don't know," came the response. "I understand. I'll leave and go live with my husband's parents. They completely ignored me. I expected my mother-in-law to do so, but I never thought my father-in-law would treat me the same way. The reason for their change in behavior was my sister-in-law, who didn't like me and had returned home. Since her arrival, our once peaceful life has been turned upside down. Don't regret it, okay? You think I'll regret leaving? Think again." Feeling neglected, I packed my things and left my in-laws' house. Just 3 days after my departure, chaos erupted in their home. I met my husband at work. He worked in sales and often visited my office. I was his main contact. As we spent more time together in meetings, I began to like him. He was caring and kind, tall, and not conventionally handsome, but he had a charming personality and was well-liked. For some reason, he said he liked me too, and we started dating. During our conversations, he told me he grew up in a normal family with parents and a sister. I had lost my parents when I was young and grew up in an orphanage. It was a difficult life, but when we began dating, I shared my past with him. He said, "That sounds tough, but don't worry, I'll always be here for you." Not long after, he asked me to marry him. He always wanted our relationship to lead to marriage and quickly introduced me to his parents. When I told them about my upbringing in the orphanage, they listened carefully and reassured me it wouldn't affect our marriage. It made me really happy. They even said my background didn't matter in becoming their daughter-in-law, which made me feel really good. However, my sister-in-law, who was very close to her brother, seemed surprised, asking, "You grew up in an orphanage?" My husband had to scold her. Looking back, she probably didn't like me from the start, but I didn't think much of it at the time, assuming we were still getting to know each other. Before we got married, my husband and I discussed moving in with his parents. We considered it seriously, but I decided to keep my job. My husband was going to be transferred soon, and although I thought about quitting to move with him, my career was going well, and I had just been given more responsibilities at work. We discussed it and agreed that he would move alone after our wedding. I wanted to enjoy being newlyweds for a while. I I even thought about visiting my husband during long weekends for mini vacations. Moving in with my in-laws right after getting married seemed a bit overwhelming, but my husband probably felt more comfortable living with them. He might have wanted us to live together to ease his mom's worries. Since I lost my parents when I was young, I had always wished for a family, so living with them didn't seem entirely bad. Besides, my in-laws had always been nice to me, and I grew to like them. It was tough juggling work and my role as a daughter-in-law, but having a family made me happy and complete. One day, my father-in-law came to me with a surprising request, marking the beginning of trouble in our seemingly happy living arrangement. It happened when my usually anxious mother-in-law, who often acted bossy towards my father-in-law, was out shopping. I was preparing to do some cleaning on my day off when my father-in-law asked to talk to me. "What's up?" I asked. "Well, I don't want my wife to find out, but I need to take time off from work." "Time off?" I asked, surprised. He explained that he'd been having problems with his boss and coworkers, and his health had deteriorated to the point where he had no choice but to take a break. My mother-in-law is a nice person, but she's always anxious and a bit overly worried. Living with them, I noticed how she tends to fret a lot, and my father-in-law walked on eggshells around her to avoid upsetting her. He had always been on the thin side, but lately, I realized he seemed to have lost some weight. It would have been nice if my mother-in-law genuinely cared about my father-in-law's weight loss, but when he took a sick day because of a cold, she said, "A cold? Everyone else at work is climbing the career ladder, and you're always taking days off for health reasons. That's why you're not getting promoted." Instead of being concerned, she tended to criticize him. He probably tried his best to keep going no matter how bad he felt, but his health got worse, and he secretly took time off to go to the hospital. He was struggling both mentally and physically, often leaving work early, being late, and calling in sick. There was talk about him needing to take a break from work, but he didn't want to upset my mother-in-law at any cost. If he suggested taking time off, she'd likely get really angry. Also, my father-in-law didn't earn much and relied on extra pay from working overtime. Taking time off would mean a significant drop in income. If he told my husband, he might inform my mother-in-law, so he came to me, asking if I could help with the bills. If I mentioned taking a break, she might even leave me, he said. Hearing that hurt. I was grateful to my in-laws, who had accepted me warmly despite my past in an orphanage, and wanting to support him, I decided to help him out during this tough time. "Okay, I'll send you money every month. Use it for expenses." "I'm really sorry. I'll try to get better soon and go back to work." "Thank you so much." After that, my father-in-law continued to pretend to go to work while I sent money to his bank account for living expenses. My mother-in-law wasn't very thorough with checking her bank statements, so she didn't notice my transfers. He'd act like he was going to work, but instead, he went to a mental health clinic or went for walks in the peaceful mountains. Over time, he started looking better. I thought he might go back to work soon, but then something unexpected happened. After a fight with her husband, my sister-in-law returned to her parents' home. There's nothing like being back home. I thought I'd lose my mind if I stayed with that stupid husband of mine. I'll be here for a while. Can you make meals for me too? I knew from the start that my sister-in-law didn't like me. At our first family meeting, my husband was upset because she clearly showed her disapproval. During her wedding, she had a sour look the whole time and even told me straight out, "My brother looks great, but you? He could have married someone prettier." She openly judged me for being raised in an institution, saying it was embarrassing. I didn't have parents at the wedding. However, she got married before us and had already moved out, so I thought I wouldn't have to deal with her much. That's why I thought it would be okay to live with my in-laws. If she had still been living at home, I wouldn't have even considered moving in, knowing how she would treat me every day. I thought her stay was just temporary because of her marital problems and expected her to leave in a few days. Even though my mother-in-law was stern with my father-in-law, she had never been harsh towards me. I believed that if my sister-in-law made mean comments, my mother-in-law would defend me. But I was wrong. One day, when I came back from work, my mother-in-law's behavior seemed strange. "Is something bothering you?" I asked. She seemed distant, not talking to me like usual. When I asked her what was wrong, she said, "Did you know you've been talking about me behind my back?" "What?" "I've never said anything bad about you. You've always been kind to me, and I'm really thankful. Why would I say bad things about you? You've been acting like the perfect daughter-in-law, but you've been talking behind my back." "Whatever," she said, leaving the room. In the hallway, my sister-in-law was smirking. "Looks like you're not in her good books anymore. Did your true colors come out? Being from an orphanage, your background really does matter, huh? It's best not to gossip about people. You know I haven't said anything bad about her." Oh, the neighbors seem to have heard everything. "When I came back home after so long, they told me you've been talking badly about her all the time." "What? Who are these neighbors?" "Well, it's been a while since I got married and moved out, so I kind of forgot their names." "I never said any of that. Stop making things up." "Oh, disrespectful. Mom, she's calling me a liar and being mean to me," my sister-in-law said as she walked into my mother-in-law's room. After that, my sister-in-law's behavior got worse. She claimed I told her to sleep in the hallway and take the last turn for a bath because she was just a guest. She complained to my mother-in-law about every little thing. Every time, I had to explain that I hadn't said or done any of it, but my mother-in-law seemed to believe my sister-in-law and be influenced by her. My sister-in-law stayed longer, making me wonder if she planned to stay forever. With all these worries, I went home feeling sad. "I'm back," I said. Before, my mother-in-law would warmly say, "Welcome back," but now it was quiet. "I'll start making dinner," I said, stepping into the living room. I was surprised. Usually, my sister-in-law would rush me to make dinner, but now my mother-in-law, father-in-law, and sister-in-law were eating sushi together. "Surprise," my sister-in-law said. "Oh, looks like someone who isn't really family is here. You were planning on having sushi, were you?" My mother-in-law kept eating without looking at me, watching TV. "If you wanted sushi, you should have told me." I came home right after shopping. I said, "Hey, I brought some stuff." I explained. No one said they wanted that," my sister-in-law replied, not even looking at me. "Hey Mom, Dad, I went out with my friends today and got some delicious pudding. Let's eat it together," my sister-in-law added, completely ignoring me. They all started eating the pudding. I was tired from work and didn't have the energy to argue, so I went to my room without eating. The next day, my sister-in-law said she was going out with friends and asked me to drive her to the station. I refused because it was a weekday and I had work. Even if we were going in the same direction, it was a different route, and she wanted to leave around noon. "I can't do it. Just take the day off, it's fine. Your cute little sis-in-law just wants a ride. She hasn't had a chance to relax since she got married, right? Can't you be a bit nicer to her now?" she said. "With all due respect, didn't you go out with friends last night after getting a late call? It seems like you've been going out almost every day since you came home." "I have work. Please take the bus or train." My mother-in-law and sister-in-law were talking quietly, but I was done and left for work. However, that night, the event that made me decide to leave the house happened. I got delayed at work and came home after buying groceries, expecting to face some criticism. It was raining heavily when I left the office, and I got soaked just getting in and out of the car. I wondered what nasty surprise was waiting for me tonight, but when I got home, they were all eating takeout again, just like the day before. No hello, acting like they didn't see me, but I was used to it. I looked out into the courtyard from the hallway and saw something in the middle of the garden. Looking closer, I saw it was my stuff. My designer bag that I bought with my first paycheck, shoes that were a birthday gift for my husband, and even my work computer, all wet. I was shocked. My sister-in-law smirked and said, "Having strangers' things in the house grosses me out, so I threw them out." Flaunting a designer bag like that, how arrogant of you. Neither my mother-in-law nor my father-in-law said anything about her terrible behavior. Why didn't you stop her? Have I done something to you? Do you really believe her lies about me badmouthing you and bullying her? Aren't you upset with her for what she did? I asked. My mother-in-law avoided my eyes and stayed silent. Why won't you say anything? I asked again. I can't talk to strangers. I can't be friendly with someone who's not family, my mother-in-law replied, not even looking at me. My sister-in-law grinned, waiting for me to respond. Wait, where's my father-in-law? I've been the one supporting him during his time off. I've been the one handling the finances in this house. I did it out of gratitude, but shouldn't he stand up for me now? Surely he'd be on my side. Hoping for his support, I looked at him, but he walked past me without a word and went into his room. That was it for me. I see. I've had enough. Oh, are you upset? I'm sorry. Honestly, I never liked you from the start, you know, being from an institution and all. Just don't regret leaving, my sister-in-law said, as if daring me to leave. Good riddance, I replied. I packed my things and got ready to leave right away. Only my father-in-law seemed worried because he relied on me financially. But even he didn't try to stop me or speak up for me. I was done with his indifference. Although my husband's work assignment was far away, I just wanted to get out of that house as soon as possible. I quickly got into my car and drove to him. I never talked to my husband about any of this. I doubted my mother-in-law told him about my sister-in-law coming back home. If he knew, he would have reached out to me because he knows I don't get along with her. But my husband never mentioned anything about my sister-in-law in his calls or messages. I never doubted my husband's behavior before, but maybe she's manipulating him, feeding him lies about things. Even now, as I go to him, he might treat me the same way they did. My heart was heavy, feeling suspicious even toward my husband, whom I trust the most. If he's siding with them, maybe divorce is the only option. That's how distressed I felt. When I arrived at his out-of-state apartment, he hadn't returned yet, probably busy since it was the end of the month. As I waited, my husband came in energetically. What? You're here. You should have told me you were coming. I would have come back sooner. What a pleasant surprise, he exclaimed. No, just seeing your face, I said with a big smile. Seeing him happy to see me after all that happened at my in-laws' house mixed with relief and humiliation, and I could have pulled back my tears. What's wrong? Did I do something? Seriously, what's going on? He asked, concerned. It seemed my husband had no clue about the treatment I endured at his parents' house. I gathered myself, knowing I needed to explain everything clearly to him. I started recounting everything, how I've been financially helping his father, who took medical leave without telling his wife, how his sister returned and was now staying at their parents' house, how she lied about me to his mother, turning her against me, how they treated me like an outsider, ignored me, and even ruined my belongings by leaving them out in the rain. Through tears and pauses, I poured out everything to him. Finally, I made it clear that I couldn't go back to that house ever again, and if he couldn't support me on this, I would want a divorce. My husband apologized for being too focused on work and not checking in on me more often. He regretted his family's behavior towards me. He assured me I didn't have to go back there or even talk to them again. Even if I forgave them someday, he was firm about cutting ties with his parents and sister. He also promised not to provide any more financial aid to his father. That night, I felt a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. The tension I'd been carrying melted away, and I slept peacefully by his side. After leaving my in-laws' house, I never went back. Commuting to my husband's out-of-state place wasn't practical, but I had already talked to my company about working remotely. My job didn't require me to be in the office all the time, and many of my colleagues worked from home too. Although I still had to visit the office a few times a month, some colleagues lived even farther away, so working remotely wasn't a problem. Living with my in-laws and dealing with my sister-in-law's bullying, I hadn't truly experienced married life. But now, we could finally live like newlyweds. As I set up my remote workstation, as expected, my sister-in-law contacted me. It turned out that the day after I left their house was my father-in-law's payday. My mother-in-law usually takes out a certain amount and transfers it to their household account, but this time she couldn't. It was only then that she realized I had been helping them financially during my father-in-law's time off. "Hey, why didn't you tell me you were covering the living expenses?" he asked. "My father-in-law asked me not to, saying he didn't want you to know, so I kept it to myself. Anyway, we're running out of money for living expenses, and there's no one to cook or do laundry. The place is a mess. As his wife, you need to come back and take care of these things and send money quickly." How heartless. I already told you, didn't I? I have no intention of going back to that house or being treated like your maid. Why should I help people who hate me, ruin my things, and treat me like this? Aren't you his wife? Without your help, we can't pay the bills or even shop. That's exactly why I'm saying it. I'm an outsider, so it's none of my business, right? I hung up, ignoring my sister-in-law's complaints. She and my mother-in-law kept bothering me with calls and messages, but I ignored all of them. Even after my husband returned from work, they kept calling persistently. When my husband finally answered, he told them firmly, "I will forgive you for how you treated her, and I'm not sending her back to you. I'm not coming back either. I don't see you as my family anymore. Leave my wife alone, or you'll regret it." Considering my sister-in-law adored her brother, and my mother-in-law heavily relied on him, they were probably shocked. A few days later, I got a call from my father-in-law. He said living with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law was getting too hard and begged me to continue the financial help. I'm grateful they accepted me when I married, despite growing up in an orphanage. But they didn't support me when I needed it, despite all the financial help I provided. I don't owe them anything. Why should I help those who joined others in ignoring me? I'll never assist you again. And with that, I ended the call. Later on, my persistent mother-in-law and sister-in-law shamelessly showed up at my workplace. Since I was already working remotely and had a bad feeling about them, I had informed my company about the situation. Security was alerted right away. They caused a scene, demanding that the company make me send money back home. When my husband heard about it, he said, "Report them to the police." My colleagues were supportive, saying, "I can't believe you had to live with those people. Focus on your remote work with your husband." As for my in-laws, my father-in-law's health declined under the pressure from my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and he eventually quit his job. My sister-in-law tried to return to her husband's family, but he refused to take her back. The town quickly learned about her drama at my workplace, causing an uproar. At her in-laws' place, the real reason for their fight was her affair, and this incident added to their problems, leading to an immediate decision to divorce. Left without a home, my in-laws and sister moved to a cheap apartment, managing with part-time jobs. As for my husband and me, we were finally enjoying peaceful days, feeling mentally and physically fulfilled. Recently, we found out we're expecting a child, and we couldn't be happier. We're eagerly awaiting the day we meet our baby, cherishing our time together.
Hello, I'm Grace, and I'd like to tell you about my challenging marriage. It all started 5 years ago. When I met Thomas, it set the stage for a journey I never anticipated. I was excelling in my career as a senior marketing manager at a prestigious tech company, a job that brought immense satisfaction and a handsome salary. I was the breadwinner of our household for a while, as Thomas faced intermittent unemployment. Thomas was pursuing his dream of becoming a writer, and I was his biggest cheerleader. He had a charm that could make anyone smile, and writing was his passion. I believed he would make it big someday. Despite my own demanding career, I made sure to support his dream all the way. We often stayed up late, discussing the life we were going to build together. Thomas sometimes took odd jobs to help out, but I always told him not to worry. I was happy to support us while he figured things out. We had unshakable faith in each other's dreams and were ready to ride the ups and downs together. Now, let me tell you about Mary, my sister-in-law who lived in the captivating city of Auckland, New Zealand. While we weren't extremely close, I considered her part of our extended family. Thomas had always been fond of his little sister despite their age gap. She was only 23. Thomas often shared stories of their childhood, showing how deeply he cared for her. Though Mary and I hadn't formed a particularly tight bond, I cherished the moments we shared during family gatherings. She had a youthful zest for life. Mary's decision to study abroad was a bold one, and everyone supported it. One evening, after a grueling day at the office, I came home with aching feet, ready to relax. But Thomas, with his cheeky smile, had other plans. "Grace, there's something I need to discuss with you," he said. "Of course, Thomas. What's on your mind?" "It's about Mary. Her health has taken a serious hit, and the medical expenses in Auckland are astronomical. She reached out to me for help. Can we send her some money?" "Absolutely, Thomas." "What happened to her?" "She's been dealing with some stomach issues, and the doctors are running tests to figure out what's wrong." "Oh no, poor Mary. We'll definitely help her." "Thanks, babe. I hate to burden you with this, but she's my sister, and I can't stand the thought of her suffering. You know I've been between jobs for a while now, and my savings are running low. Mary just graduated and is actively looking for a job, but it's not easy for her in her field. Family comes first, Thomas, and we'll make sure she gets the help she needs." "How much does she need?" "Just $5,000. I know it's a lot. We'll tighten our belts if we have to. It's the least we can do." "You're amazing, Grace. I promise I'll pay you back as soon as I find a stable job. I hate that it's come to this, but I'm so grateful for your support. Don't worry about paying me back, Thomas. Family sticks together no matter what." Without a second thought, I agreed to send the money. It was a decision made out of love, compassion, and a belief that family always comes first. I saw the genuine concern in Thomas's eyes for his sister's well-being and couldn't bear to see him burdened by worry. After all, what good was the money? I earned it. If I couldn't use it to help the people I cared about the most, then what was the point? I have always believed that wealth holds no real value unless it's used to make a positive impact on the lives of those you love. It wasn't about the amount or the inconvenience. It was about standing by Thomas's side and showing solidarity with his family. So, I transferred the money to Mary. Little did I know that this simple act of generosity would trigger a series of events that would turn my life upside down. A few weeks later, Thomas informed me that his mom, Charlotte, was making a spontaneous trip to Auckland to be with Mary. He explained that Charlotte was deeply concerned about her daughter's health and that he needed to drive her to the airport. As soon as I heard this, I knew I wanted to accompany them. I wanted to meet Charlotte before her flight, offering her some support and comfort during this stressful time. Even though Thomas said I didn't need to, I insisted. "So, Thomas, how's Mary doing? What's her exact diagnosis?" "Well, it's a bit complicated, Grace. She's been having these stomach issues, and the doctors are still trying to figure it out." "Yes, dear," Thomas chimed in. They haven't pinpointed the exact cause yet. It's been quite a struggle for her. Stomach issues. That sounds vague. But she's been going to the doctor regularly, right? Oh yes, she's seen a few specialists, but they haven't concluded anything yet. It's been frustrating. Darling, we are hopeful she will get better soon. I'm going there to take better care of her. That's all a mother can do, you know. I hope so too. It's just strange that it's been a while and they haven't reached a diagnosis yet. For someone as young as her to have such issues. Let it go, Grace. Let's just focus on getting Mom to the airport right now. While Charlotte was away in Oakland, life continued as usual. I headed to work while Thomas stayed home, working on his novel. Another month passed, and then Thomas approached me with another request for money. He explained that Mary was relocating for a new job and needed financial help for her new apartment. Charlotte was still in Oakland with her, and from what I knew, Charlotte was wealthy enough to support Mary comfortably. Despite my doubts, I couldn't bring myself to question Thomas's family. I quietly sent Mary the requested $33,000, hoping this time it would truly benefit her. But then, a week later, Thomas dropped a bombshell that left me utterly flabbergasted. Grace, I need to ask you for something. Something big. What is it, Thomas? I need you to send my sister $50,000. $50,000. Thomas, that's half of my annual salary. Why on earth would Mary need that much money? Mary's health is deteriorating rapidly. It's a serious stomach condition, and the doctor recommends surgery. She's in pain, and we can't wait any longer. I get that, Thomas, but why can't you just tell me exactly what's wrong with her? It's so frustrating not knowing. You're always so vague about it. And why couldn't Charlotte help with the $3,000 last time? First, it was for a diagnosis, then an apartment, and now a surgery. Charlotte has her own expenses, Grace. She's been helping Mary too, but this situation is just beyond what any of us expected. I understand, but it's just so hard to keep giving money without knowing where it's going. It's complicated, Grace. I wish I could explain it better, but it's a medical thing, and Mary's privacy matters too. I'm not asking for every detail, just something more than some stomach issue, Thomas. Grace, please, this is about her life. I can't believe you're questioning this. I'm not questioning Mary's health. I just want some proof. You think I would lie about my own sister's health? I cannot believe you're being so heartless about this. I am not being heartless, Thomas. I am scared. I need to protect our future too. I can't drain our savings without knowing more. You know what, Grace? If you can't trust me on this, maybe we don't have a future together. I wouldn't want a divorce if you don't help me. Are you seriously threatening me with divorce over this? I thought you would support me when my family needs it the most. I want to support your family, but I also need to know I'm not being taken advantage of. If you won't share the truth, I can't keep sending money blindly. You're unbelievable, Grace. Fine, do what you want. But remember, you are making this choice. Don't go around telling everyone that I left you when it's completely your fault. I plopped down on the couch, feeling the weight of Thomas's request pressing on me. Thoughts swirled in my head like a blender on high speed. Why all the secrecy? First, it was for Mary's diagnosis, then an apartment, and now surgery. It just didn't add up. I sat there, wrestling with my thoughts. On one hand, there was my undying love for Thomas. I didn't want to see him hurt or upset, and family always came first for me. But on the other hand, something just didn't feel right. I needed some proof, some clarity, but all I got were vague explanations. In the end, my love for Thomas and my sense of family loyalty won out. I made the payment to Mary. She texted me a thank you note. As the sun rose the next morning, I broke the news to Thomas. I'm sorry for doubting you, Thomas. I transferred the money to Mary. You did, Grace. You are the best. I'm sorry for last night. The divorce thing just came out of my mouth. I didn't really mean it. No matter how hard I tried to play along, something just didn't sit right. Even after sending Mary the money, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story than met the eye. Thomas had threatened me with divorce the previous night, but once I sent the money, he transformed back into Mr. Charming. I couldn't ignore it. Why all the secrecy about Mary's health? Why wasn't Charlotte stepping up to help her own daughter when she was struggling? It was a blast. Jenny wore this stunning red dress that would make anyone jealous. You know, the usual stuff, food, gossip, and a lot of dancing. Typical Jenny, making an entrance. Why weren't you there, by the way? Actually, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. Thomas and I had a fight. No way, Grace. What's going on? Well, you know my sister-in-law Mary in New Zealand, right? She's been asking for money, claiming it's for her health issues. Yeah, I remember seeing her at your wedding. She was just a kid then. What's her deal? Something feels off. I sent her some money before, but now she's asking me to send a huge chunk of my salary, and he threatened to divorce me if I didn't. That does not sound right. That was a shitty move on Thomas's part. Did you try talking to Mary directly? I did. I left her a few texts, but she was so vague about it. She just thanked me for the money and stuff. I don't know much about her anyway. You know, sometimes people spill more on social media than they intend to. Have you checked Mary's profiles? What's she up to? Mary isn't exactly on Facebook or Instagram. She's always been quite private. That is strange for a 23-year-old not to have any social media presence. Let me put my stalking skills to use. I took a quick break to grab the blueberry muffins and coffee we ordered from the counter, hoping to ease the tension. When I returned, Amon's face looked like she had seen a ghost. I leaned in and couldn't help but ask, "What's got you looking so shocked? Isn't this Mary? There she is on Instagram. Strange how I couldn't find her at first." Well, maybe she blocked you. Why would she do that? Take a look at her account. You're not going to like what you see. I started scrolling through Mary's Instagram, and, Manny, you will not believe this, Mary was at a Dua Lipa concert just a week ago. What on earth is going on? Not to mention how expensive those front row tickets would be. My heart sank as I scrolled through Mary's Instagram profile. There she was, living a life that seemed far from the struggles Thomas had described: fancy restaurants, designer bags and clothes, trips to Europe, and photos with internet personalities. Nothing about her life appeared to match the dire situation Thomas had painted. The final blow came when Amoni opened her Instagram story, showing Mary having a luxurious lunch with Charlotte at an upscale restaurant just 4 hours ago. Her follower count stood at around 20,000, a number that made her a budding Instagram influencer. How could someone with such a substantial online presence, who seemed to enjoy a life of luxury, be in financial straits as Thomas had claimed? Girl, she's flaunting a Gucci bag, and your husband claims she's broke. You'll definitely need to have a serious talk with Thomas, Amoni remarked. You're right, Amoni. I need to go. See you later. I dashed back home, my head swirling with thoughts, but Thomas was nowhere in sight. I couldn't sit still, so I restlessly paced the living room, my heart racing. Finally, Thomas walked through the door. Hey, baby, how was your day with Amoni? I asked. You're home early. It was very educational. I learned about a lot of things today. That's different. I just went for a walk to hit my daily step goal. Nice. You seem upset. Is everything all right with Amoni? Oh, come on, Thomas. Did you know about this or not? Know about what? I pulled out the screenshots of Mary's photos that Amoni had sent me. Thomas's face turned pale as he gazed at the screenshots. I could see the regret in his eyes. Where did you find these? It doesn't matter where I found them. The question is, did you know? Look me in the eyes and admit you've been keeping things from me. Thomas nodded reluctantly. Yes, I have. Why in the world would you lie about something like this? And where did all the money I worked hard for go? It's a complicated situation. I'm not accepting that as an answer. You better start talking. Mary needed money because she didn't finish college. She dropped out. What? And who was going to tell me that? You said she graduated. Yeah, I never told you. I lied. She wanted to become an influencer and needed money to maintain that lifestyle. I thought I could help her out. So you sent her money so she could splurge on designer clothes and bags and build a fake social media life. You don't understand, Grace. She realized college wasn't for her, so there was no illness, no surgery, no new job, and no new apartment. You lied to me, took the money I worked hard for, and threw it at your sister who just wanted to live a glamorous social media fantasy. What about Charlotte? Why did she fly out to Oakland? She's no saint. They come from a family of liars. They are actually planning to fly to Paris for an influencer event on Mother's Day. It's a thing where everyone brings their mother as their date. I can't believe you tried to sell me the story that your sister was seriously ill when in reality you needed money for these first-world problems. Please forgive me, Grace. And then you threatened to leave me, huh? Aaron, you are such a manipulator. I'm sorry. I seriously did not mean it, babe. Please, can I do anything to make it up to you? You want to make it up to me? Okay, let's divorce. You can't be serious. Yes, you threatened me with divorce, but you know what? Now I genuinely desire a divorce. Life got really messy at home. Thomas and I were living in different corners of our own house. I needed a break from more than lies, so I booked a flight to my parents' place. My flight was in 2 days, but just when I thought things could not get crazier, Mary herself rang me up one morning as I was having my coffee. I stared at my phone, wondering what on earth she wanted. Finally, I answered, Grace, you must listen carefully. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into. Mary, what are you talking about? If you think about divorcing Thomas, it won't end well for you. You'll regret it. I can't keep sending you money for your so-called needs. You don't understand the situation, Grace. I have plans, and they involve you staying married to Thomas. The moment she started talking, I had this brilliant idea. I activated the recording feature on my phone, making sure to capture every word she said. You have no choice, Grace. Be a supportive sister-in-law or face the consequences. Threats won't change my mind. You think you can just walk away, Grace? You have no idea who you're dealing with. If you dare to divorce my brother, I'll make sure your life becomes a living hell. I have ways and connections you can't even imagine. Well, Mary, it seems like you have your bag of threats, but I have something too. You see, I've been recording this entire conversation. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. And now I'm giving you 1 month to return every cent you took from me. Otherwise, say goodbye to that online empire you were trying to build. I'll leak this recording to make sure each one of your followers hears the truth. Grace, please don't do something drastic. Okay. Just give me some time, and I'll pay you back. I promise. 1 month, Mary. Don't test my patience again. In the end, I did get the money back from Mary. She wired it to my account a day before the 1-month deadline expired. Thomas and I, well, we couldn't fix what was broken. So, I went ahead and filed for divorce, which, let me tell you, was not a walk in the park. But hey, sometimes you have to do what is right for you. Being single again has its perks. Work is more exciting, socializing is a blast, and I'm living life on my own terms. I bought myself a new apartment, a place I can call my own. My family and friends often ask me how I manage to keep my spirits high through all that craziness. I just give them a huge smile and say, when people cross lines with you, sometimes you have to cross some lines too. Don't play the victim. Take control of your life and your happiness.